After a 46% year-over-year increase in listings for the month of January, February fell more in alignment with its seasonal averages when it comes to listings, but we have seen now essentially in every single market in Metro Vancouver except for one, another consecutive month of inventory increasing. So what does that mean for this upcoming spring market? Are we going to continue to see this upward trend? Because if that's the case, the spring market may not be as competitive as a lot of other agents thought it would be, including myself. We have now wiped out a lot of the inventory decrease that we'd seen for about 3 or 4 months back in the fall and across the course of the beginning winter months. And now we're starting to get back into those areas of having an increase in inventory. So we're going to be jumping into all of the fresh data for February to help you with your decision making, whether you're a buyer or a seller. You're going to have all this deeper analytical number to know where the buyer best bets are, the seller best bets are, so that you can make an informed decision whether you're purchasing, selling, relocating, or investing here in Vancouver. My name is Kyle Mark, your Vancouver Realtor, so I'm excited to get into this so that you have the data you need to make those informed decisions. So we're going to start off here just with a quote from Andrew Lees, who's an economist for the Greater Vancouver Realtor Board. And he stated that after the rush of new listings in January, home sales and new listings in February were closer to historical averages, which has positioned the overall market in balanced conditions. With a potential Bank of Canada rate cut on the table for mid-March, home buyers may find slightly improved borrowing conditions while enjoying the largest selection of homes on the market since pre-pandemic times. And there's two things that I want to point out there. The first one saying the Bank of Canada, talking about those Bank of Canada interest rate policy drops. We already know that they are going to be coming into play. The Bank of Canada has already said for its next 4 meetings, they are dropping rates because of those tariffs that were implemented at the time of recording today. So what does that mean for buyers? It's going to be very interesting to see how this whole plays out, especially with these tariff threats. We know that, and this is in a previous video, that tariffs don't really affect Vancouverites in comparison to the bulk of Eastern Canada and Alberta. We were one of the least affected major cities in Canada, ranking in the low 30s out of 42 cities ranked, and a lot of our economy isn't based on those tariffs, but that could still bring into question purchasers and their plans for buying real estate, and what does it mean for sellers as well. As this increase of inventory continues on, yes, that's going to favor buyers, but with these now confirmed rate decreases, and we don't know how much they're going to cut them, that will also have an impact on the market as well. I also put up a previous video of my interpretation of what I think the tariffs are going to do to the marketplace, so I'm not going to touch that here. You can check that on a previous video here, but we're just going to jump into the numbers here for you. So I wanted to bring up some of this data here when it talks about listings, and that's what we're really concerned about. So right here you can see the total number of properties currently listed for sale on the MLS system in Metro Vancouver is 12,744, 32.3% increase compared to February of last year. This is also 36.4% above the 10-year seasonal average. So as a whole across Metro Vancouver, we are starting to see that saturation in the marketplace, and I've been saying this for such a long time, all through 2024, essentially since late spring and summer and continuing on into fall of 2024. If you're an upsizer or looking to get into the market, there's still opportunity for you. These are very soft conditions that we're seeing, and I'm going to help you, guide you a little bit more if you're looking for that great place to purchase into. As we talk about in terms of overall pricing, the MLS Home Price Index composite benchmark price for all residential properties in Metro Vancouver is currently sitting at $1.169 million $100. This represents a 1.1% decrease from February of last year and a 0.3% decrease compared to January 2025. That's been the story here. Vancouver real estate has been flatlined for quite some time, and we're going to see that in some of the numbers here. So as we start here with the numbers, Vancouver downtown is first on the list, and what I want to point to you right now is this red dotted line. This is inventory. You can see that many areas across Metro Vancouver from September onward had around 4 consecutive months of a decrease of inventory, dropping to that 786 level. We've now rebounded for 2 consecutive months where we've seen an addition of 300 listings, almost 300 listings come to market in the last 2 months. So what does that mean for you as a buyer? That's a great thing. We can see that sales, and that's been the same as well. It's been essentially flatlined for the last 13 months. Pricing, it hasn't really done anything massive. This right here is for condos and townhomes, the attached market. But I know in certain areas, especially if you're looking for good value, any of these buildings at around 2 to 5 years old that were deemed as a luxury build, those ones are taking a massive hit right now. You can see right now Cole Harbour, 5% sales ratio. If you're looking in Cole Harbour right now, very good odds, 146 inventory with just 7 sales. And the rest of Vancouver's downtown market is sitting at 11%, which is in slight buyer market conditions. The West End and Yaletown a little bit higher, but for sure, if you're in that downtown market and you're not emotionally tied to an area and you're looking for good value, Cole Harbour is the place you want to be. We can see that in price band as well, it's lining up to that 11% marker here in buyer market conditions. And then when you start pairing areas with price bands, that's when you start cooking with fire here. So if you're looking specifically in downtown for a value, I'd be looking at Cole Harbour. I would be looking at, in this 1.7 to 2 million range, which is a 4% sales ratio, 48 units, 2 sales. This 1 million to 1.5 is in buyer market conditions as well. And then in some of these elevated price points from 275 to 3 is at 3%. That is actually the lowest of all the price bands here. And then a 6% for 3.5 to $4 million. When you're looking as a seller, if you're contemplating selling in the downtown market, it's really anything that's somewhat entry level from 500,000 to 900,000. So these are going to be 1-bedroom or bachelor apartments. The market's a little bit better in stronger balanced market conditions, but you're kind of offset here with your areas here as well. If you're wanting further information, if you are concerned about the downtown market, whether you're a buyer or a seller, make sure you book that discovery call with me. All my information is in the description below. So as we wrap this up here, you can see here sellers' best bets, buyers' best bets. Selling homes in West End, Yaletown up to 1-bedroom properties is the best right now in the downtown market. Buyers' best bets, homes between 2.7 to 3 million in Cole Harbour and 3-bedroom properties. We also have a chart here when it comes to what kind of properties in terms of bedrooms are the most advantageous. So you can see that 3-bedroom properties sitting at 3% sales ratio. So if you're really wanting to hit that home run, you're looking for a 3-bedroom property in that $275 to $3 million mark in Cole Harbour. That is where you're going to see some extreme value. Continuing on here into Vancouver's West Side, and I know I mentioned this in one of my previous videos, there hasn't been a lot of change, but it's still extremely soft at 6% sales ratio. Heavy buyer market conditions. This is where you need to be looking at if you're looking for property, especially in the detached market. You have a ton of options in good areas. I mean, Cambie, 2% sales ratio, 54 inventory, just 1 sale. If we move down, even Kitsilano, 14%. Kitsilano's always been competitive, 29 inventory, 4 sales. Point Grey is soft, Shaughnessy is soft, South Granville is soft, low single digits. There's a number of sub areas that also have not had any recorded sales here. So as you can see here, we've had another bump up of almost 40 listings month to month in February. That's contributing to this low. Other than Mackenzie Heights, which is in seller market conditions at 25%, everywhere else on Vancouver's West Side is very soft. If we look over here on price bands, we can see the same sort of thing. In the entry level, which obviously makes sense, it's a little bit more competitive, but once you start getting above 2.75, you're running into soft market price bands. You have a little bit of a higher, more competition in balanced market conditions from 4 to 4.5, but I mean, you can essentially have your pick. There's a ton of inventory. Look at all of February, 583 inventory and just 35 sales. That is very low. If you're looking at the bedrooms, 7 bedrooms or more, so quite a large house is sitting at 3%. So there's a number of options if you are on Vancouver's West Side looking to get in. There's a lot of opportunity there for you. For buyers' best bets, homes between 6.5 to 7 million in Cambie, Shaughnessy, South Granville, minimum 7 bedrooms, and sellers' best bets, selling homes in Mackenzie Heights and 3 to 4 bedroom properties. It is interesting though, we had a little bit of a bump up of 350,000 for the average price point. There wasn't a lot of sales to contribute to that, but now we're riding up a little bit higher from these averages. But these are some of the things that you can take advantage of because this West Side market does have some of these swings from month to month as well. As we enter Vancouver's West Side attached market, when it comes to condos and townhomes, again, we had another increase of around 60 units while sales stayed flat. Pricing dropped a little bit month to month. And as we can see here, the market here is in firm balanced market conditions. So 900 inventory, 144 sales, anywhere between 12 to 20% is balanced market conditions. So it's pretty fair market on Vancouver's West Side. You can see there's a lot of items that are above that 20% mark that indicates seller market conditions. So if you're a seller on Vancouver's West Side and you are in Fairview, Fells Creek, Kitsilano, Mackenzie Heights, Mount Pleasant at 60%, pretty much almost 3/4 of the sub areas on Vancouver's Westside is in seller market conditions. So there are some opportunities depending on where you're at. South Granville is very soft. South Cambie, man, 75 inventory, 1 sale, 1% sales ratio. So depending what you're looking for, there's actually pretty good opportunity on either side of the ledger for a buyer or seller. When we come into price bands, you can see that anywhere from 400,000 up to the 1.25 million mark is in seller market conditions essentially. Then you can start seeing some soft spots at the 1.75 to 2 million, as well as the 2.25 to 2.5 million mark as well. With bedrooms, the softest is 4 bedrooms or greater, so that's going to be your townhouses for sure. And then obviously 0 to 1 bedrooms the most competitive, and that's not a surprise there at all. So buyers best bets, homes between 2.25 million and 2.5 in Kerrisdale, South Cambie, South Granville, minimum 3 bedrooms. Sellers best bets, selling homes in Mount Pleasant, Kilchina, and up to 2 bedroom properties. So if you were needing any of this data, make sure that you just drop me an email or shoot me a text. My information is in the description below. I can send you this full report. Moving to Vancouver's east side on the detached market, picked up a little bit, 11%. I know that it was in single digits last month. So there's been a little bit an increase in sales, 498 inventory, 55 sales. And you can see again, we had a slight uptick of just over 40 listings come to market here. When we look into the sales ratio here as to what is competitive, Strathcona 40%, but the data is quite low, which is 5 inventory and 2 sale. Main Street 28%. And Fraser Street 19%. That's the area that I currently live in. But for the most part, you're going to have a lot of good options on Vancouver's east side. And with Vancouver's east side, we know that it has been quite competitive the last couple of years. So there's some good opportunity to get an entry point in here. When we look at price bands to keep in mind, this 2.25 to 2.5 million stands out, 8% sales ratio. So 76 inventory, 6 sales. So I would be, as a buyer, looking at this price band here and pairing it with some of these weaker markets. As a seller, obviously entry level is always going to be a little bit higher here, but anything upwards to 2.25 million, there's decent conditions for competition. 4 bedrooms, 7 bedrooms or more, 2%, but on Vancouver's east side, that's to be expected. I mean, that's a very large home on Vancouver's east side. When we look at sales, we're now on the average at $1.9 million when it comes to the average price point, and that's been a flat line like most of these data sets. Buyers best bets, homes between 2.7 million to 3 million in Collingwood, Fraserview, Knight, Renfrew, Victoria, minimum 7 bedroom homes. And sellers best bets, selling homes in Killarney, Main Street, and up to 2 bedroom properties. 2 bedroom properties here, it's at 19%. I mean, those are going to be very small heritage homes sitting at that are likely going to be torn down. Wrapping things up here on Vancouver's east side with the condos and townhomes. Again, another uptick in inventory, about 60, so pretty aggressive in terms of inventory here, 21%. So on average though, even though we've had 2 consecutive months, but you can see that in December we were quite low with the inventory. On average, we're on seller market conditions everywhere on Vancouver's east side. It's going to be competitive no matter where you look. We have some numbers that, skew it a little bit. Renfrew Heights sitting at a 300% sales ratio. So, keep that in mind. But, there are areas such as Knight Street, 80%, 10 inventory, 8 sales. Hastings, 12 inventory, 6 sales. Champlain Heights, 70%. So there is a lot of competition on Vancouver's east side. If you're a buyer looking somewhere that's quite soft, is in Maine, 8%, 12 inventory, 1 sales. So there's some opportunity in here as a whole. For price bands, again, at this entry level from 300,000, there's 2 sales between 3 to 400,000. I'd like to know what those were. But essentially from 300,000 all the way up to 1.25, pretty strong seller market conditions. Then you start to fall off. This 1.5 to 1.75 mark is actually a nice landing spot for you if you're a buyer. That is something that is just at 4% with 25 inventory with 1 sale. But if you're a seller, I mean, if you're anywhere around that $1 million mark plus or minus, there is some firm competition, especially in this $900 to $1 million mark, 37%. If you have something that's valued in there, there is some good value there for you as a seller. For bedrooms, 21%, again, quite strong. It doesn't really matter if you're 1 to 3 bedroom, quite competitive. When we are looking at buyers best bets, homes between 1.5 to 1.75 million on Main, minimum 4 bedroom properties, and then sellers best bets, selling homes in Champlain Heights, Hastings, Knight, Renfrew, and up to 3 bedroom properties. So there we have it, a quick overview. Wanted to get this video out as quickly as possible so you had these numbers as quickly as possible to help with your decision making. What I've been noticing, boots on the ground, there are a ton of buyers out ready to transact. This was not the case in 2024. There's a lot more people coming to the party. Obviously that is something to be expected. expected as these interest rates continue to drop. It would give a lot more confidence and pre-approvals for those buyers. But what we're seeing to offset that is this influx of inventory. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the rest of March plays out here. How is this all going to settle with these tariffs? Are they going to meet in the middle? Are they going to be taken back? Or are we going to full out go into this trade war? And what's that going to do to the economy? And more importantly, how is the Bank of Canada going to address these tariffs? If they bring these rates down quickly, this is going to have an impact on the market here. So if you need any questions, if you need any help, book that discovery call with me. I also have some amazing home buyer and home seller blueprints that I'd love to send over your way. So shoot me a text or book a discovery call. All that information is in the description below. And until the next one, we'll talk to you then.